Uta here with another mixed bouquet. And I've spotted uh, two great spangled fritillaries and one or two red admirals and a black swallowtail in the garden today. So, oh, yes, I discovered very interesting blog site for religious Christian men who have what they term an addiction for cross-dressing and they want to overcome it. And so I have gathered some very interesting quotes from men who tend to be a little bit more honest than the variety of husband that I divorced. I call him Neddy in my book, which is titled In the Curated Woods, True Tales from a Grass Widow, published at iUniverse exactly last year, 2022, in ebook form, very inexpensively, about $7, and also available in softcover in most places all over the world. Let's see. We have a couple of upcoming things. I believe that on Monday, it appears I have an emerging plan to do a live stream at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which over in South Africa, where Lucky and his friend are at Reality Check SA, as in South Africa. So it's Reality Check SA, all one word. That is the YouTube channel. I really hope that you go ahead and subscribe to it. They rock the best. And they're very interested in this data that I'm collecting, which will be on my next YouTube video that I hope to post actually later today. Now, let's see. And also should be coming up on Tammy Peterson YouTube channel, an interview with me. She told me they would try to get it out sometime in July. We recorded about a month ago. That's some of the things that are coming up. Now, let's see now. I don't know exactly which to start at. I mean, some of it was just so remarkable. I did copy and paste and printed it out. This is going to go in my book. My next book, also to be published from iUniverse, will be called Trans Widow Chronicles, Leaving and Healing. Now, oh my goodness, there's just so much. So, but these are the fellas who are trying to stop this. Many of them admit that it came from a pornography addiction where there was quite vulgar characterizations of, this what do you call it? Degradation, really. And what it plays on actually is an image that during heterosexual sex, women are degraded. And that's somehow to these really sick individuals that contributes to their arousal. I try to just state things as clinically and matter-of-factly as I can. One of the issues that happens with trans widows is that pieces of our story don't get out because it is painful to talk about. Some of us have been sexually and physically abused. And so in my next video, I'm going to talk about the rates of that, which I know are shocking in the numbers that I've derived from 43 of us. But it's probably mostly underreported. Yeah. But here are what the men have to say for themselves. What I looked for in cross-dressing was to feel sexy. to feel comfortable, to feel positive about myself, to get away from all that I hated about being a man. So, what this reveals to me is that there's probably some problems with his father, and uh, perhaps he experienced some kind of physical or sexual abuse at the hands of a male, so he has a negative feeling about masculinity and maleness. Um, uh, People have all kind of conjecture about where this comes from. There are some, men's rights advocates who want to blame women looking for equal rights, but what I have to say to them is a woman whose husband died or left her with children has to figure out how to support herself. And so she is feeding a child, not taking a job away from a man. Okay, so the next one says, I tell you that 10 years ago my wife saw me in heels. She has never forgiven me for that grotesque sight. So this should serve as a warning. Just don't do it, you know. The more I dressed, the less I did for her, partly because of the time and the side effects of a worsening mood and lack of energy. Conversely, when I stopped dressing, I had more mental energy to look and see to her needs and seek to meet them. Okay, here's a really disgusting one. Gosh, I'm surprised that this. Okay, so SRS is used as a code for so-called sex change surgery. Then it became sex reassignment surgery, as if you are God assigning sex, which is assigned at conception, which is not, which is, it's, sex is conceived at conception. That's what happens. Okay, so this guy says before my SRS, so that means that he had some kind of surgery. I would pretend to menstruate by urinating in sanitary pads. I particularly enjoyed wearing the old-fashioned belted pad with long tabs. You know, I really think that any guy who goes in to get a treatment at a clinic should be advised to read this. These come, I'm not going to give the website name or make a link, but it's something about healing from cross-dressing or something like that. And all of these guys say that they are religious Christians. This next one is a little bit longer, and this guy is responding to one of them saying, well, I just really needed more sex from my wife. That would have stemmed this urge. So this guy, who I think is older, says communication. I don't want to dispute what that guy said, but for me, more sex is not the answer. I stated earlier that I don't function as a male should anymore, be it age or that I've mentally rewired my brain. Sex is not an attraction to me. Just sounds great. And my bride wearing more feminine clothing does not do it for me either. In fact, it's important for me not to imagine her in certain clothing because somehow my thoughts turn towards me wearing those things. Sitting and spending good quality time with my bride is what's important. Sadly, she has brought up that she feels more like a roommate than a wife. That comment is what I work to change. So he's not saying, I want to work on myself to be more of a husband to my wife. He's saying that her comment is something that he wants to work to change. So there is this thing, and I saw this with Nettie, where these guys, instead of taking responsibility for their deceit, their spending habits, and their appearance becoming unattractive to their wife, and their whole physical being becoming unattractive to their wife, because when you start doing these hormones, you change the way your body smells. And I certainly have always been clued into how does my guy smell? You know, does he have this sexy musk of masculinity kind of smell? Um, yeah, I consider this pretty truthy. So some more goes like this. I considered my wife as a man, and th- uh, though the temptation of living as an outwardly appearing female was tempting, that's all it was. And he has a wife and son. Uh, I think that Nettie considered me to be male in his fantasies, even though I am 5'4" and considerably smaller than him all around. And I think that my sort of determination and hard-headedness and stick-to-itiveness is something that he regarded as male. And I think also um, I just was very securely connected mind and body. And I think that it just served his fantasy um, to start saying, you know, he, him about me, his wife, in his head. Okay, this guy continues. Many, and I believe it's a majority, what they must do now to maintain themselves. Mm. Uh, Sorry, I'm not quite. I probably missed something when I was copying that. Okay, here's another one. B. Cross-dressing to me is about other things like quick sexual release. Some of them contradicted that, and they said they had problems actually with sexual arousal. So, you know, that all speaks to bad experiences and the trauma of possible sexual abuse or something like that. Oh my goodness. I have a cardinal and a few butterflies outside. Okay, yeah, yeah, quick sexual release. Another one. This habit has been very sexual in nature. Another one says, to me, cross-dressing is an addiction that causes harm to me and those around me. And you are right. Another one says, I realized some glaring inconsistencies between reality and what my perception of being a woman really is. All right, that's honest. Next, one of the things I turn to when depressed is cross-dressing. Not carrying cash. He practices the habit of not carrying cash, so he can't buy female associated jewelry, clothing, makeup, etc. In secret. So obviously he was taking cash and doing that, and he's using this strategy to prevent himself. Several of them admit that they had secret money. I'm not putting any of the wives into my survey of trans widows, just so you know, because I don't know enough about them. Um, okay, next. I realized I was as close to being a woman when wearing women's attire as I would to being a cougar if I wore a cougar costume. It was absurd. It was delusional thinking. The next one. My brain has been so twisted by my thoughts and the fact that I've done this for 45 years that intimacy is very rare. I think that's the one who started out saying he wanted communication, he wanted his wife's comment to be changed, and that he didn't function sexually. Next, my wife once did sleep in the spare room to show me she couldn't be with me due to a worsening porn problem. She did threaten to leave me if I was to look up that particular thing again. And the next one is on whether it's a choice. I've often thought about this, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't need to know whether I was born with it or whether it came after birth. Born with it is just not a thing. I have to see how much more of this I have. Okay, just a couple of more minutes. Next, maybe it can all be maybe it can all die out eventually if I stop enjoying it from time to time. So this guy is admitting he's still doing it. Next, if I could go back and make better choices as a 10-year-old kid, I certainly would. I take this as this lack of responsibility. There's a real distinct lack of taking responsibility for what you're doing and how you're spending your time with these guys. Okay, this next one said, I had a credit card that my wife found out about. That's her discovery of what he was doing. Next, one reason we got a joint account so that I'd stop burning through my salary on clothes or anything else. I used PayPal because it's easier to keep secret. Amazon Locker is a secretive place to get things sent to as you're in control of when you pick it up. So it's probably at a UPS depot or something like this, and then you go pick it up. You don't have to get things mailed to you. This is very interesting and I think important for women who are suspecting that their husbands are doing this. I'm not quite sure how you do the research to find out. Okay, next. I opened a separate Amazon account. I did in my single days and have a post office box just for this kind of stuff. And okay, the last one says, I never bought anything. I just wore my wife's things. I'm just thinking how to title this. Oh, you'll find out. You'll know. So, don't forget to plant the flowers and count the butterflies. Be well in mind and body always.